Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namamo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dekasarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Okay, so we have discussed 3 subjects. And what is it?
What will be the problem if one enter only through only
So in 13th chapter, Arjuna asked 6 questions. Out of the 3 we have covered. Which 3? And Jnana. Okay, so now we are proceeding ahead with Gneyam, 13th verse. Gneyam means the object of knowledge. So by this knowledge, what is to be gained? What will one understand by this knowledge? That is called Gneyam. Gneyam yattat pravakshyami yajñatvam anadi matparam brahma na sattan na saduchyate. I shall now explain the knowable, knowing which you will taste the eternal. Brahman, the spirit, beginningless and subordinate to me, lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. Okay, so now he is explaining Gneyam. Gneyam yaddat pravakshyami. I shall explain to you. Yash yatvam ashnute. By knowing which you will taste nectar. What are the qualities of that object of knowledge? Anadi matparam Brahma. So the name is Brahma. And here, Srila Prabhupada takes the meaning of Brahman as spirit soul. So that spirit soul is Anadi and Matparam. Anadi is beginningless, Matparam subordinate to me. And is beyond the cause and effect of this material world. It's on transcendental platform. Okay. So Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, the Lord has explained the field of activities and the knower of the field. He has also explained the process of knowing the knower of the field of activities. Now he begins to explain the knowable, first the soul and then the super soul. By knowledge of the knower, both the soul and the super soul, one can relish the nectar of life. As explained in the 2nd chapter, the living end is eternal. This is also confirmed here. There is no specific date at which the Jiva was born, nor can anyone trace out the history of the Jivatma's manifestation from the Supreme Lord. Therefore, it is beginningless. The Vedic literature confirms this. Na jayate mriyate va vipaschit Kathopanishad. The knower of the body is never born and never dies and is full of knowledge. So here, the Brahman that is being referred to is the spirit soul. Okay, the spirit soul, which is Anadi and Matpara. So this is the object of knowledge, Gneyam. So by knowledge, one will understand about the spirit soul. So that is one purpose of knowing, of getting this knowledge is to understand spirit soul. Now from
The translation, the spirit word is Brahman is spirit, so why it is language?
why?
It's a repetition. If Brahman is spirit,
Hmm.
then again why is spirit is used?
Come.
The translation.
Only socially used in the translation.
Okay, translation, because Brahman is a Sanskrit word, so the translation of that is spirit.
I thought it's like comma means.
Prabhupada is making sure that those who don't understand Sanskrit know what it means. Everyone doesn't know what is Brahman. Na? Yes, one can also understand Brahman as super soul. So therefore Prabhupada is clarifying. The Brahman means the spirit soul. Okay. So this is one object of knowledge, to understand the spirit soul. Now from the 14th to the 19th verses, now he describes the other object of knowledge, and that is the super soul. Beginning from the 14th verse, he is describing super soul. Sarvata panipadam tad sarvatokshi shiromukham sarvata shrutimaloke sarvam avritya tishtati. Everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes, heads and faces, and he has ears everywhere. In this way, the super soul exists, pervading everything. Purport. Is it?
As the sun exists diffusing its unlimited rays, so does the super soul, the supreme personality of Godhead. He exists in his all-pervading form, and in him exist all the individual living entities, beginning from the first great teacher Brahman to the small ants. There are unlimited heads, legs, hands, and eyes, and unlimited living entities. All are existing in and of the super soul. Therefore, the super soul is all-pervading. The individual soul, however, cannot say that he has his hands, legs, and eyes everywhere. That is not possible. If he thinks that under ignorance he is not conscious that his hands and legs are diffused all over, but when he attains to proper knowledge, he will come to that stage, his thinking is contrary. This means that the individual soul, having become conditioned by material nature, is not supreme. The supreme is different from the individual soul. Supreme Lord can extend his hand without limit. The individual soul cannot. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that if anyone offers him a flower or a fruit or little water, he accepts it. If the Lord is a far distance, how can he accept it? That is the stopping prudence of the Lord. Even though he is situated in his own world, far, far away from the earth, he can extend his hand to accept what anyone offers. That is his potency. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated, Guru eva nivasati anilatma bhuta. Although he is always in his past tense, this transcendental planet, he is all pervading. The individual soul cannot claim that he is all pervading. Therefore, this verse describes the super soul, supreme soul, the personality of Godhead, not the individual soul.
The Prabhupada is making sure that one doesn't get the Mayavad conception. One doesn't mistake the super soul to be the soul. So therefore he's making the point. This definitely refers to the super soul. So here, so on one hand, the super soul is situated in one place, just like the sun. So he's giving an example of the sun. Sun is situated in one place, but light is spread everywhere. So similarly, the super soul also exists within all bodies, is everywhere. And so therefore, he has unlimited hands, heads, legs, eyes, everything. He is unlimited. Now the other understanding is that, okay, let's read this. Then. Okay, read.
Your hand, your leg, your hand, your leg. So as you want to use these hands and legs for fighting, Ashok was in the beginning thinking that my hand, my leg, it is meant for my family. Therefore, he was hesitating to kill that this hand it belongs to my family, to my kinsmen, to my country, to my nation, to my society. How can I use these hands and legs against him? Krishna, I will not fight. This is the ignorance. He did not know that he did not know that his hand and the legs belongs to Krishna. And when he understood, after hearing Bhagavad Gita from Krishna, he understood. Well, I was thinking the hands and the legs belongs to my family, to me. No, it belongs to Krishna. It must be used for Krishna. Then he decided, Krishna, Krishna was not Tava. Now you want me because this is your hand, your leg. So you want to use these hands and legs for fighting? I must use it.
So there are two understandings of this. So one understanding is that super soul himself is spread everywhere, and therefore he has unlimited hands and legs. The other understanding is that all the hands and legs of all the living entities also belong to Krishna. Rishikena, Rishikesha. So therefore, everyone's hands and legs also belong to Krishna. In that way, also he has unlimited hands and legs. So both the understandings are there, and so therefore, because he has unlimited hands and legs, so therefore wherever he is, he can accept the offerings, he can hear our prayers, and so one understands that the Lord is present everywhere. So the practical application of this is, as Srila Prabhupada is explaining here, because all the hands, legs, eyes, ears, everything belong to Krishna, therefore they must be used only in Krishna's service. That's one. Second is that because he is everywhere,
He can accept service.
okay, he can accept service anywhere. So wherever we are, we can offer and he can accept. So as Srila Prabhupada is saying, he can extend his hand from Golok Vrindavan. That's his omnipotency. But of course, even if he does not extend his hand, he is everywhere. So wherever he is, he can accept. And the other important point is that because he is everywhere, he has his eyes, ears everywhere. So what's the practical approach? Yes. So he knows everything. He's seeing our every thought, word, action, everything he's seeing. चुपके से कुछ नहीं होता है, चुपके से करेंगे. Everyone knows the story of the Gurukul teacher who gave mango to all the students, correct? So you can't hide. So it is such a simple philosophical truth, yet the realization of this, we don't know when it will come. Such a simple truth. But still, even devotees think, चुपके से हम कुछ करें. Such a great irony. Sometimes some items which are offered to the Lord don't come out of the altar. I don't know whether it happens here, but definitely it happens in some places. किसको पता है? भगवान को भी पता नहीं. So the illusion is so strong that one fails to understand, one fails to realize these things. In previous classes, I think so I told you some instance of copying in exams.
Yes.
Bhakti Shastri exams. So Just see that. Such a simple thing. So you can just imagine if one simply realizes this one verse of the Gita, how much change can take place in society? You just think about it. If one just realizes this one verse, can anyone do anything wrong? No. Because he knows record, सब record हो रहा है और फिर भुगतना पड़ेगा हर एक चीज के लिए. One will have to pay for it. But an ignorance person thinks nobody is watching. So Srila Prabhupada in his lectures he says, so the Christians, when they hear about this law of karma, they say, oh, you say that this person is suffering because of action from previous life, but where is the witness? If you say that he has done something wrong before, there must be a witness. But how many witnesses are there?
Then directions.
Surya, Chandra, Vayu, Prithvi, all witnesses. There are almost a dozen witnesses. And if all of them decide to sleep, there's one witness who does not sleep. With unblinking eyes. Yes. Unblinking eyes. He's watching. So therefore, these verses require a little bit of contemplation. One should a little bit contemplate and think, what is this? Because if one just realizes this much, such a major transformation can take place. So one thing is we have to understand everything belongs to Krishna, all our senses belong to Krishna. They should be used in Krishna's service. And the second thing is to understand that at every point of time, at every moment, the Lord is watching. So if I want to please Him, then at every moment I must be doing things in a way that will please Him and not something against. So therefore, these are important verses for one to understand. So otherwise, if one does not understand, then as Srila Prabhupada is saying over here, then one will think this hand belongs to India, this hand belongs to America, or it belongs to my family, so I must be used in my country's service, my society's service, my family's service. So one will fail to understand that it belongs to Krishna. So somebody may say, what is the proof? You say it belongs to Krishna. No, it belongs, I can do whatever I want. What will you say? नहीं वो बात ठीक है, लेकिन अगर कोई पूछता है कि आप बोल रहे हो कि हाथ भगवान का है, लेकिन जो मैं चाहता हूं मैं कर सकता हूं ना, तो भगवान का कैसे?
The Prabhupada gives the example of the paralysis that even if you want to use it.
Correct. So if the hand gets paralyzed, even though I want to do something with this hand, I cannot do. Then who's the controller? So in this way, one has to understand these facts. Okay. 15. Sarvendriya gunabhasam sarvendriya vivarjitam Asaktam sarva vrichaiva nirgunam gunabhotra cha. The supersoul is the original source of all senses. Yet, he is without senses. He is unattached, although he is the maintainer of all living beings. He transcends the modes of nature and at the same time is the master of all the modes of material nature. So here he's explaining the contradictory qualities in the Supreme Law. Okay, purport.
The Supreme Lord, although the source of all senses, it did not material senses like they have. Actually, the individual souls have spiritual senses, but in conditioned life, they are covered with the material elements. And therefore, the sense activities are exhibited through matter. The Supreme Lord's senses are not so covered. His senses are transcendental and are therefore called nirguna. Guna means the material modes, but his senses are called material coverings. It should be understood that his senses are not exactly like ours. Although he is the source of all our sensory activities, he has his transcendental senses, which are uncontaminated. This is very nicely explained in the Swiss Sloka of Bishop 3.19 in the verse Apani Pado
Javano Grahita.
Grihata. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has no hands, which are materially contaminated, but he has these hands and accept whatever sacrifice is offered. That is the distinction between the conditioned soul and the super soul. He has no material eyes, but he has eyes. Otherwise, how could he see? He see everything, past, present, and future. He lives within the heart of all living beings, and he knows that we have done in the past, what we are doing now, and what is awaiting us in the future. This is also comes from Bhagavad Gita. He knows everything, but no one knows him. It is said that the Supreme Lord has no legs like us, but he can travel throughout the space because he has spiritual legs. In other words, the Lord is not personal. He has his eyes, legs, hands, and everything else. And because we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, we also have these things. But his hands, legs, eyes, and senses are not contaminated by material nature. Bhagavad Gita also confirms that when the Lord appears, he appears as he is by his eternal potency. He is not contaminated by material energy because he is the Lord. In the Vedic literature, we find that his whole embodiment is spiritual. He has his eternal form called Satchidananda Vigraha. He is full of all opulences. He is the proprietor of all wealth and the owner of all energy. He is the most intelligent and is full of knowledge. These are some of the symptoms of Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the maintainer of all entities and the witness of all activities. As far as we can understand from Vedic literature, the Supreme Lord is always transcendental. Although we do not see his hands, face, hands or legs, he has them. And when we are elevated to the transcendental situation, we can see the Lord's form. Due to materially contaminated senses, we cannot see his form. Therefore, the impersonalists who are still materially affected cannot understand the personality of God.
So here as we mentioned, Sarvendriya Gunabhasam. So he is the original source. He is the original source of all the senses. Yet he is without senses, Sarvendriya Vivarjitam. So what does it mean? He has senses but no material senses. So otherwise, how can he see? How can he hear? So he has all the senses. And same time, Asaktam Sarvabrit. So he is without attachment, but he is the maintainer of everyone. So this we already discussed in the 9th chapter, verses number. Which section of the 9th chapter we discussed? How he is. अरे वो तीसरे अध्याय में आ गया 9th chapter, the entire section which says that how he is the creator, the maintainer, annihilator, but yet he is detached. Yes, 9.4 to 10. Huh? So 9.4, what is 9.4? Maya tadam idam sarvam jagat avyaktamurtina matstani sarvabhutani na chaham deshavasita. So that entire section is explaining that how he is udasinavat. Yes. So he's creating everything, he's maintaining everything, he's annihilating everything, he's doing everything, but still he is udasin. He's not directly involved with anything and he's not affected by anything. So the same thing is mentioned here also. So he's sarvabrit, he's maintaining all the living entities, but he is asaptam. He is detached. So it is not that he gets affected. So what's the analogy that Prabhupada gives in that section, 9th chapter? Spider transcend. To explain that he is udasinabat. What is the analogy Prabhupada is giving? Okay, that analogy Krishna himself is giving. But what is the analogy Prabhupada is giving to explain that he is udasinabat?
For example,
King
which is manifestation of these synergy.
आप गलत जगह पर देख रहे हो।
Prabhuji, Prabhupada gave the example of a judge.
सामने फिर भी गलत जगह देख रहे हो। उदासीनवत कौन से श्लोक में आता है?
9.9. Hare Krishna.
आगे देखो।
Hare Krishna.
So what is the analogy? Yes. Gives the analogy of the High Court judge. So he's awarding punishment to somebody, he's awarding reward to someone, but he is not affected. Not that if he's giving reward to someone, he becomes happy. No, he's not affected. He's giving his judgment based on the law. He's not affected. So similarly, the Lord is, through material nature, he's awarding so many different bodies to the living entities. Now, some are good bodies, some are not so good bodies, and so much of suffering, so many things he's seeing, but he's detached. So everything is happening on the laws of nature, according to the karma of the living entity, they get. And so the Lord himself remains detached. So the same thing is being explained over here. He is asaktam even though he is sarvaprit. And he is nirgunam though he is gunabhokta. So although he is, so gunabhoktra has two meanings. In the word to word, Prabhupada says master of the gunas. But in the purport, he also gives another meaning. Master of all? Yes, that is in the word to word. But in the purport, he gives one more meaning. And that is, last paragraph, he is full of all opulence. That is the other meaning. The other meaning is of guna bhoktra, means that he is the enjoyer. He is the enjoyer of all the opulences. That is the other meaning. And so, even though he is the master of the modes, he is the source of the modes, but still he is not affected by the modes. He is transcendental to the modes, nirgunam. Okay, some examples to establish this, that he is nirgunam, transcendental, not affected by the modes. We also discussed this in the 7th chapter. 7th chapter, which verse Krishna says, I am the source of all the modes, but I am not affected by the modes. थोड़ा बीच में थोड़ा रिवाइज करना चाहिए नहीं तो हम आगे जा रहे पहले के सब साफ वो मराठी में कुछ saying है ना पुढचा पाठ 7th chapter, 12th verse, right?
Yeah, that will.
12th verse. And the 12th verse he says, I am the source of all the gunas, but I am not affected by them. And there Srila Prabhupada gives the example of,
State laws.
yes, the king is not affected by the laws. So the king makes laws, but he himself is not affected by the laws. The king can do no wrong. He is not affected by the laws. And what is the pastime? Some pastimes to show that Krishna is not affected by the gunas.
He does not become old.
Okay, he does not become old. He does not. Okay, his body is transient, so he has nothing of these effects of material nature. But which pastime? Pastime. Leela, to show you that it's transcendental. हमने discuss किया था.
appearing as Vara.
ये ऑनलाइन कोई है क्या आज?
प्रभु जी है हम लोग, लेकिन हमारा
आज तो
आवाज नहीं
ऑफलाइन बहुत कम है. ऑनलाइन कौन है?
आवाज नहीं है।
I have a doubt.
हाँ, वंशीधर तो है ना. और कौन है? प्रवीण प्रभु.
Pratik Prasad Prabhu लिखा है appearing as Bharat Dev.
Appearing as बराबर.
Now it's not affected by them.
Some classical pastimes. At least one we had discussed in detail. We quoted a purport of Srila Prabhupada from the first canto, 7th chapter. We go.
So, Ashokana was brought before Gopinath Pandaras
And Krishna.
and Krishna. At that time, Krishna already, Krishna was angry and he liked to be better. But Krishna also, he was angry on Ashokana. Still, his eyes are described as lotus eyes.
Yes. So there Srila Prabhupada writes that this shows that Krishna's senses are transcendental, not affected by the modes. And so similarly, of course, there are more pastimes of Krishna, not affected by the modes. Can you think of any other pastime?
Lower than the land was not sleeping, not taking his 4 to 7 days.
Okay. So of course, no material, it's not material body, so therefore all that is possible. Yes, so not material body means not affected by modes, that's correct. And so similarly, Krishna's pure devotee is also not affected by the modes. So tell one proper pastime to illustrate this.
So one time Prabhupada went to his temple to do kirtan or that bar or something like that. Then Prabhupada after that told this is not place for the devotees.
Okay, ठीक है.
Then
Okay, that was 1967 San Francisco. What was it called?
Avalon ball.
Yes, Avalon Ball Dance. Okay, which is the other Nasik pastime? Srila Prabhupada's anger, not material. Hmm.
And first initiation ceremony, the yajnas are there, all the fruits are.
And that was not the first initiation ceremony. That was the Amsterdam temple opening. Amsterdam temple opening when so many things went wrong. And Srila Prabhupada was so angry. He was chastising the devotees. He was chastising the temple president who was going to take sannyas. And so Prabhupada was very angry, in spite of all the TV reporters, newspaper reporters, everyone was there. It was being broadcast on national television, but Prabhupada didn't care. So he wanted to teach his disciples what is the right thing to do. So after the whole ceremony was over, Srila Prabhupada went back to his room, and one devotee wanted to see what are the after effects. तो हमारे केस में क्या होता है जब हम क्रोधित हो जाते हैं, कब तक रहता है क्रोध, कब तक रहता है? हाँ, कभी कभी महीने महीने वो रहता है, बार बार आता है मन में. So therefore one devotee was curious, what must be the after effects? Maybe Prabhupada is frustrated, disappointed. So he peeped through the door. And what was Prabhupada doing? He was happily rocking on a rocking chair, as if nothing ever happened. Kuch farak nahi. So he was angry only for service. Yes, only for service he was angry. It was not due to influence of modes. मुझे ये नहीं मिला इसलिए, मुझे कोई नहीं सुन रहा है. So it is not about I and mind. So that is influence of modes. But Prabhupada only for the sake of service. So therefore there were no after effects. Okay, so these are some important points of difference between the super soul and ordinary living entity. And so he knows everything, past, present, future. Verse from the 7th chapter, he knows past, present, future. He sees everything. He has no material eyes, but he sees everything, past, present, and future. What is the verse from the 7th chapter? He knows everything, past, present, future.
वेदाहं संतितानि वर्तमानानि च भविष्यामि.
He knows past, present, future, but nobody knows him. Vedaham samaditani vartmanani charjuna bhavishyani ch bhutani mam tu vedana karshana. So he's seeing everything, he's witnessing everything, therefore he knows everything, past, present, and future. Okay, fine. 16. Bahirantascha bhutanam acharam charamev cha sukshmatma tada vigneyam durastam chantike cha tat. This is similar to Ishopanishad verse, right? Ishopanishad mantra. What is that Ishopanishad mantra? He is far, but this is similar to that. The supreme truth exists outside and inside of all living beings, moving and non-moving. Because he is subtle, he is beyond the power of the material senses to see or know. Although far, far away, he is also near to all. So he is far, far away. Where is he? And still he is very near. How near? Paramatma. Closest person. There is no one closer than that. कभी कोई कहता है ना, very close relative. But who's closer than this? Huh? He's the closest. So he's far away, but still he's very close. And he's outside and inside. Bahir Narsimho. Yato yato yami. Everywhere. Inside, outside. Bahir antascha bhutana. Acharam charam. In both moving, non-moving living entities. He's sukshmatvat. Because he is very subtle, therefore he is avigneyam. He is not noble because he is very subtle. Durastam antike. So Prabhupada writes that although he is far, far away, still he is near to us. So we cannot see or understand with these material senses. Therefore, in the Vedic language, it is said that to understand him, our material mind and senses cannot act. But one must purify his mind and senses by practicing Krishna consciousness, devotional service can see him constantly. Okay, 17. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam iva cha sthitam bhuta bhartrat chatachneyam grasishnu prabhavishnu cha. Although the supersoul appears to be divided among all beings, he is never divided, he is situated as one. Although he is the maintainer of every living entity, it is to be understood that he devours and develops all. Purport.
The Lord is situated in everyone's heart as the super soul. Does this mean that he has become divided? No. Actually, he is one. The example is given of the sun. The sun at the meridian is situated in its place. But if one goes for 5,000 miles in all directions, and asks where is the sun, everyone will say that it is shining on his head. In the Vedic literature, this example is given to show that although he is undivided, he is situated as a divided. Also, it is said in Vedic literature that one Vishnu is present everywhere by his omnipotence, just as the sun appears in many places to many persons. And the Supreme Lord, although the maintainer of every living entity, devours everything at the time of annihilation. This was confirmed in the 11th chapter when the Lord said that he had come to devour all warriors assembled at Kurukshetra. He also mentioned that in the form of time he devours also. He is the annihilator, the killer of all. When there is creation, he develops all from their original state, and at the time of annihilation, he devours them. The Vedic hymns confirm the fact that he is the origin of all living entities and the rest of all. After creation, everything rests in his omnipotence, and after annihilation, everything again returns to rest in him. These are the confirmations of Vedic hymns. Yatova imani bhutani jayante yena jatani जीवन्ति यत् प्रयन्ति अभिषक्ष्यन्ति तद् ब्रह्म तद् विजिज्ञासस्व तैत्तिरीय उपनिषद.
Okay, so here he's saying avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam. So it appears as if he is vibhaktam, divided, but actually he is avibhaktam, he is undivided. And so therefore, he's given the example of the sun. So sun is here also, 1000 miles. You go somewhere, you'll still find the same sun. So it is not that one sun is here, another sun is there, another sun is somewhere, same sun. So if a material object can be one yet appear divided, why can't the Supreme Lord do the same thing? So it's not that the one super soul is divided. No, there's only one super soul. But that one super soul is manifesting everywhere. So that is why the example of the sun is. Srila Prabhupada tells the instant of when in his grihastha days he had a small child. आगे क्या? तो क्या पूछा? So why is the moon following us? So therefore it appears as if the moon, the sun, they're everywhere, they're divided. But no, it is the same sun and moon. So similarly, the Lord is also present everywhere as the super soul. And although he is the maintainer, Bhuta Bhartru Chatajneyam. So although he is the maintainer, but still he is Grasishnu Prabhavishnu. So although he is the maintainer, but still he annihilates. So his Prabhupada is quoting from the 11th chapter how the universal form is devouring everything. So annihilation also takes place. So he is creator, his maintainer, his annihilator, everything is done.
You said that is very like sun. So supposedly the heart of the form is the sitting. You see, what only one is there, but so many are there.
So the one, So another example is given, Shri Prabhupada has given that in some other place. Bolo.
The sun, like, for example, this sun is there in the sky, but if many water pots are kept, in all the water pots, the same sun is reflected.
So it appears as if there's a different sun in each water pot. Correct? But actually it's only one sun. But it appears as if they are separate. So similarly, it appears as if there's a different super soul in all the bodies. But no, it's one super soul. And if you find it difficult to understand, nothing to worry. All this achintya. But therefore, some analogies are being given so that we get some idea. So if a material object can act like this, then why can't the Supreme Lord? So it's a material conception to think that there are separate super souls in each body.
But we say that Lord is personal to every.
Correct. That's correct.
He's a personal Lord.
Good now. You have a personal relationship with the Lord. What's the problem?
There is no personal, one only.
So what? Because he's everywhere, he's not personal. So this is what the impersonalist think. So that is what the impersonalist, because he's everywhere, therefore he cannot be personal. That is their problem. But this is
This
this.
example is very common. One sun is very common. Example not with this personal.
No, now what's your understanding of personal?
He reciprocates and he
So he can reciprocate, no?
just like in Krishna pastime, everyone. Gopis want to.
Okay, we can take your example on
Yes.
with the gopis, and when Krishna is having his 16,001, it means that example is also there. And when Krishna is having his lunch with all the cowherd boys, how many cowherd boys? Millions of cowherd boys. But each cowherd boy, what he thinks? Yes, Krishna is with me, Krishna is looking at me, Krishna is reciprocating with me. How? Yes, Brahma Vimon Leela also. Only one Krishna, right? It's not that the separate Krishnas, only one Krishna is there. But every cowherd boy thinks that Krishna is with me. Krishna is looking at me. Yes, in Ras Leela also. So all this is what? Achintya Shakti. Achintya Shakti. This inconceivable potency of the Lord. Therefore, if we try to understand it with some logic, intelligence, वो fit नहीं होता है. वो कभी fit नहीं होता. Because I cannot do it. So therefore, I cannot understand it. But then the Mayavadis say, because I cannot do it, therefore Lord also cannot do it. No, it doesn't work that way. Then what is the difference between you and Lord then? So then they come to the conclusion, no difference. But there has to be a difference, no? Therefore he is God. And we are not. So this is the difference. The one person, but he can manifest everywhere.
Completely.
Yes. Om Purnamata, Purnamata, Purnamata. So all these are Achintya Shaktis of the Lord. So it's not necessary that the Lord has to sort of divide himself, then I can have a person. No problem. But the analogies are trying to give us some understanding. Analogy will never fit. It will never fit completely. Because this is material, that is spiritual. It will never fit completely. But the analogy is there so that we can understand something. So even if a material object can appear in so many places simultaneously, then why can't the Supreme Lord? That is the understanding. In fact, Prabhupada writes that somewhere. Right. Prabhupada writes that in the next purport actually. Yes, please.
Mr. Ramakrishna has a question
Hmm.
that if Lord knows the past, present, and future of everything.
Good. I know. Somebody like him only has to ask this question.
If Jiva which is depend on how he exists freely, which is dynamic, and how can Krishna know about his or society's future?
First, you have to tell your answer. Then we will tell. सुनाई दे रहा है उनको?
हमारा आवाज नहीं आ रहा पूजा आपको?
क्या आवाज नहीं आ रहा बोलो?
आ रहा है क्या पूजी?
हाँ, यहाँ कुछ थोड़ा आवाज है।
एक मिनट वेट करो।
हाँ बोलो।
पूजी, now am I audible, पूजी?
Not yet.
हाँ बोलो बोलो क्या देख रहे हैं?
पूजी, am I audible?
कहाँ से आवाज आ रहा है?
Yes.
Yes, पूजी. पूजी, what I was asking is, if let's say if a drunkard,
एक मिनट होल्ड कर।
बोलो.
अभी सुनाई दे रहा है क्या?
स्पीकर किधर है?
नीचे आवाज भी सुन के इसका।
चलिए वंशीधर गोपेश प्रभु, आप हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र बोलते रहो, हरे बोल.
ठीक है, छोड़ो।
हाँ, हरे कृष्ण.
Okay, somebody here can tell what is the answer to that question. Everyone heard the question, no?
As Jiva future depend on how he uses his free will, which is dynamic, then how can Krishna know about somebody's future, future of a community or society?
Hmm.
In this sense, although we are living entities by our limited conception, we may think like that, and we are limited by time, but Krishna does not have that restriction of time in himself. And he is, you can say renunciation is also one of the opulences of his. But although the Jiva may happen to take any decision, he will not interfere, although he knows that in future some such thing will happen.
Okay, so then somebody may say, see, if you say that he knows the future, then somebody will argue then there's no question of free will. And if you say that
he does not know the future because the free will is there, then somebody will say that he is limited. But his opulence of realization is so high, even whatever decision he don't make, he does not interfere. Okay, that's correct. Something else add to that? Next, Krishna knows
अभी आ रहा है क्या मुझे आवाज? हरे कृष्णा, हरे कृष्णा, हरे कृष्णा.
So then where is free will then? For this Jiva? Jiva is, he doesn't able to think what is there. It's one action there. So that means you are saying that Krishna doesn't actually don't think.
हरे कृष्णा, कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. आ रहे क्या? नहीं आ रहा.
अरे बोल ऑनलाइन आ रहा है आपका आवाज, उधर नहीं आ रहा है, पता नहीं.
आगे क्या फायदा? प्रभु जी को बोलना, प्रभु जी will validate the answer. No, how will I speak?
We can just call to Sudhanshu bro.
कुछ तो कार्ड गड़बड़ है, इसलिए उनको बोल रहे कि एक में करूंगा करके बोल रहा है। तो कार्ड का कुछ नहीं है।
एक्चुअली क्लास वो पीडीसी रूम में हो रहा है 305 में।
For example, like wine is there, then between worker foods, then under the most of material let's use this natural.
एक्चुअली अभी प्रभु जी का भी आवाज गड़बड़ आ रहा है, रुको।
You now have accepted that there would be no Mahabharata. So Krishna the some role, Mr. Some person in that role, he knows that he will not certain to this kind of circumstance, but he knows the nature of it. So again, the same example. We can say that even though we know that right? But the influence of so because everything happens when it is very clear what is going to be the destination of it is very clear. By the influence of the mode, what is going to happen? So Krishna lectures in the 14th chapter. Urvam Gachanti, Tattva, Mandyatishanti, Rama, Atogachanti.
Yes.
Also, but then
it is not connected.
so when somebody uses it pretty well, when somebody uses it pretty well, so take a devotional.
And then when he takes to devotional service, what will be the future? That also is very clear. Correct? So it's very clear. What is going to be the future of every jiva? So if we also can tell this much, then why the Supreme Lord cannot tell? Even we know this much, right? So somebody is eating meat and drinking wine. Can you tell his destination or no? So if such foolish ordinary living entities can tell the future, then what to speak of Krishna then? Very easy. So for Krishna, he knows everything. All the details also he knows where exactly he will go. So Vamsadhar Prabhu is satisfied or no?
They are not very clear to relate to last.
We are limited what to do. Okay. So you okay, later on we'll see. So Vamsadhar Prabhu, you heard or no what we are discussing?
No, he did not. He said that I was thinking Krishna also knows dynamic future.
Dynamic, yes, Krishna knows everything. So he knows, yes, and now, so that's what we were saying. If we also know this much future, then Krishna will know more details about the future. No? In a gross way, even we can understand this much future, then Krishna will definitely know all the details also about the future. Okay, 18th verse. Jyotishamapi tajyotistamasa paramuchyate jnanam gneyam jnanagamyam madili sarvasya vishtitam. Yeah, PPT. He is the source of light in all luminous objects. He is beyond the darkness of matter and is unmanifested. He is knowledge, he is the object of knowledge, and he is the goal of knowledge. He is situated in everyone's heart. Okay? Jyotisham api tat jyotis. So whatever jyoti we find is ultimately coming from Krishna. And he is beyond darkness, tamasa param uchyate, because he is on the transcendental platform, Krishna Surisam. So he is jnanam, neyam, jnanagamyam. So jnana means knowledge. Neyam means the object of knowledge, means by that knowledge, what is to be known?
17 का 18 हरिवल
So Neyam is object of knowledge. Just like here we are discussing the object of knowledge. What is the object of knowledge? What is Neyam? Soul and super soul. Soul and super soul is Neyam, the object of knowledge. What is to be known by that knowledge? Or what is to be realized by that knowledge? And Jnana Gamya means what is the destination of understanding that knowledge? Jnana Gamya. The proper translates it as to be approached by knowledge. So what's the destination of that knowledge, of getting that knowledge? What is the destination of getting that knowledge? That's Jnana Gamyam. Is this clear? Jnanam, Neyam, Jnana Gamyam. So Neyam is what is to be known or what is to be realized by that knowledge. So we are getting this knowledge from scripture. What is to be realized by getting this knowledge? That is soul and super soul. And Jnana Gamyam means what will be the destination by understanding this knowledge. So that is Jnana Gamyam. So all three are Krishna. So Krishna is saying, I am only Jnanam. And so we saw the process of knowledge, that is Krishna, it is coming from Krishna. And what is to be known? Super soul, that is also Krishna. And where will we go by knowing this? Krishna. So that's why he's saying, I am Jnanam, Neyam, Jnanagam. I am all three of them. And Riddhi Sarvasya Vishtitam. I am situated within the heart. Okay, so now there is one nice Prabhupada's lecture on this. Read.
They find the reflection, bluish reflection in the sky. So
Jyotisham api
Jyotisham
jyotis tamasa param.
So this Jyoti, this illumination is beyond this material world. And because there is illness, that illumination is reflected in the material world. You will find the reflection, bluish reflection in the sky. It means that Brahmayoti is bluish because it is coming out of the blue body of Krishna. Therefore, it is bluish. We see the sky bluish, and in darkness we see, although it is darkness, there is some brightness in the sky. Always the sky is covered, 7 times covered by different types of material elements, and that Brahmayoti is penetrating
through the cover.
And little reflection we can see the sky.
Okay, this is scientific explanation of why the sky is blue. So if somebody has why sky is, don't give any other explanation. This is the explanation. ये क्या मतलब हो गया? Whether they accept it or not, this is the fact. So should we change our answer to suit what they are thinking? Our answer remains the same. This is fact. हाँ उज्जवल ने बोलो. हाँ तो so see there it is not there it's not said golden or blue or what anything. There it is only said there is an effulgence. So if effulgence is very bright, na. So it's very bright. That's why it appears to be golden. But the golden also has bluish tinge. It is bright, therefore it looks golden, but still there is bluish tinge.
That is like a white light is very bright. Bluish light is very bright, it appears very
So that's what I'm saying. So it's very bright, therefore it appears golden. But so just like even the sky, when there is bright sunlight, you can't see it as bluish because of the bright sunlight.
like golden.
Even normal light, focus light, even red and this thing from distance it look like yellow.
Correct, because of the brightness. So like that.
People are pretending to see it very bright.
Which way?
Pole is it is blue light only. From far it appears yellow.
It's blue light.
Fire also. It's blue actually. But when it emits, because it burns, it appears.
Correct. So basically it is blue. ठीक है? New understand. Good. At least something new you are getting. So it is coming from the bluish body of Krishna. Blue light. Therefore, the sky is blue. Correct. Neelamani. That this is describing you only. Through the covers, there is, he says what? There is a small gap. What is it? Penetrating through the covers and little reflection we can see in the sky. So this is only little reflection. So it's reflection. So there's one Neelmani in Kanpur also. No? So one Devakinanda Prabhu was saying there is black money, there's white money, and there's blue money. Okay, so that's the end of the description of the super soul. 19th verse, Krishna is summarizing. Iti kshetram tada jnanam neyam choktam samasatah mad bhakta etad vijnaya mad bhavayopapadyate. Thus, the field of activities, the body, knowledge, and the noble have been summarily described by me. Who can understand? Only my devotees can understand this thoroughly and thus attain to my nature. Okay, so Krishna summarizing. Till now, what I have described? Kshetram, Tata Jnanam, Neyam. So then somebody say, where is Kshetra Jnana? He forgot, huh? Huh? No, noble is Gneyam.
But the relationship cannot be there.
So he's saying only Kshetram, Tata Jnanam, Gneyam, Cha Uktam. I have described only these three. So what about Kshetrajna?
Jnana and Neya can only be possible if there are Kshetra.
Now see, which Kshetra, there is always Kshetrajna. They go together. Therefore, it's not described separately. Yes, soul and super soul are Kshetrajna, no doubt, but they are also Gneyam. So they are the object of knowledge, or what one will realize by the knowledge. So by understanding all this knowledge, what is the purpose? What is the purpose? To know soul and super soul, correct? That is the purpose of reading, hearing, The purpose of understanding all this is what? To understand that I am spirit soul, having relationship with super soul. That is the purpose. So therefore that is niyam. So all this can only be understood by Mad Bhakta, my devotees. Mad Bhakta etad vijnaya. And therefore, what will be the result? Mad bhavaya upapadyate. They will attain to my nature. So therefore, Prabhupada writes in the purport that this knowledge of three things, the knower, the knowable, and the process of knowing, combined, these are called as vijnana, or the science of knowledge. Perfect knowledge can be understood by the unalloyed devotees of the Lord directly. Others are unable to understand. The monists say that at the ultimate stage, these three items become one. But the devotees do not accept this. Knowledge and development of knowledge mean understanding oneself in Krishna consciousness. Okay, so that's the end of this section. Now let's go to the next section, 20 to 26, Prakriti, Purusha and their union. 20. Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Vidyanadhi Bhavapi Vikaramscha Gunamschaiva Vidhi Prakriti Sambhavan. Material nature and the living entity should be understood to be beginningless. Their transformations and the modes of matter are products of material nature. So now Krishna is saying Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Vidhi. Now you know Vidhi, you understand. So now I'm going to describe Prakriti Purusha, you try to understand. So both of these, Prakriti as well as Purusha, are what? Anadi. Both of them are Anadi, no beginning. Okay, so now here, who's the Purusha here? Yes, the individual soul. Here the word Purusha is referring to individual soul. So both are Anadi. So somebody may say, okay, spirit soul we understand, Anadi. But Prakriti is also Anadi.
Yes.
How?
Because that is the energy of the Lord.
Ah, correct. So because that's the energy of the Lord, Prakriti by itself is Anadi. But what is temporary then? Yes, the manifestations of Prakriti, that is temporary. So, Vikaramscha Gunamschaiva Vidhi Prakriti Sambhavan. So the Vikara, the transformations of this, they are transformations, the transformations of material nature. So the transformations are carried out by the modes of material nature. Prabhupada writes that in the second paragraph of his purport, both material nature and the living entity eternal, that is to say that they existed before the creation. The material manifestation is from the energy of the Supreme Lord, and so also the living entities, but the living entities are of superior energy. Both the living entities and the material nature existed before the cosmos was manifested. Material nature was absorbed in the Supreme Personality of God, Mahavishnu. When it was required, it was manifested by the agency of Matattva. So living entities are also in him, and because they are conditioned, they are averse to serving the Supreme Lord. Thus, they are not allowed to enter into the spiritual sky. But with the coming forth of material nature, these living entities are again given a chance to act in the material world and prepare themselves to enter into the spiritual world. That is the history of this material creation. That is the purpose of the material creation. Actually, the living entity is originally the spiritual part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, but due to his rebellious nature, he is conditioned within material nature. It really does not matter how these living entities or superior entities of the Supreme Lord have come in contact with material nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead knows, however, how and why this actually took place. This is my standard reference for how Jiva falls. This is my standard reference. If anybody asks me this question, I give this reference. What is Prabhupada saying? It really does not matter. It really does not matter how these living entities or superior entities of Supreme Lord have come in contact with material nature. But who knows? Supreme Personality of Godhead knows. How, why, when, everything he knows. So two examples we give. One is the mosquito example. Everybody knows mosquito example. So somebody gets malaria. No point in asking which mosquito bit. पहले वो बताओ फिर दवाई लो. Foolishness. पहले दवाई ले लो फिर देख लो. Other example is
When you fall in a puddle or quicksand, you don't ask why I have fallen. You should first come over.
or to make it a little more graphic, if somebody has pushed you from the ship into the ocean and you're drowning and somebody throws a rope, if you ask, first tell who pushed, then I'll catch the rope. And by the time you'll drown. Better is catch the rope, go on top and find out who pushed. So the same thing applies here also. So go back to spiritual world first, then find out. You ask Krishna directly.
Then why there is big fuss about it?
That's what no.
It's very illogical argument.
It's useless argument.
Why so much fuss is there about?
Because people have nothing else to talk about. That's when they make a big fuss.
And also, they are not believing on what they are. They are not.
So what difference does it make? It makes no difference. Right? The process remains the same. Irrespective of where one has fallen from, when one has fallen, the process remains the same. Process remains the same. The goal remains the same. Everything remains the same. So why waste time in unnecessary talks and unnecessary arguments? It makes no sense. That's what Prabhupada is saying very clearly. It does not matter. Supreme Lord knows. So go back to the Supreme Lord and ask. Kab hua, kahan hua, kaise hua, kuch. Lord will tell everything in detail. Okay, so at least if anybody asks me this question, I tell him, see, this is my reference. Dekh lo. No discussion, no further discussion. This is my reference. Then you can ask Prabhupada more questions. Okay. 21. कार्य कारण कर्तृत्वे हेतु प्रकृति रुच्यते पुरुषः सुख दुःखानां भोक्तृत्वे हेतु रुच्यते. Nature is said to be the cause of all material causes and effects, whereas the living entity is the cause of the various sufferings and enjoyments in this world. Okay, perfect.
The different manifestation of body and senses among living entities are due to material nature. There are 84 like differences of life, and these varieties are creation of the material nature. They arise from the different sensual pleasures of the living entity, who thus desires to live in the material world or that, live in this body or that. When he put into different bodies, he enjoys different kinds of happiness and distress. His material happiness and distress are due to his body and not to himself as he is. In his original state, there is no doubt of enjoyment. Therefore, that is his real state. Because of the desire to lord over material nature, he is in the material world. In the spiritual world, there is no such thing. The spiritual world is pure, but in the material world, everyone is struggling hard to acquire different kinds of pleasure for the body. It might be more clear to state that this body is the effect of the senses. The senses are instrument for different desire. Now, the sum total, the body and instrument senses are offered of material nature, and as will be clear, the next verse, the living entity is blessed or damned with the circumstances according to each one's desire and activity. According to one's desire and activities, material places one in various residential quarters. The being itself is the cause of his attaining such residential quarters and his attendant enjoyment or suffering. one placed in some particular kind of body, he comes under the control of nature because the body, being matter acts according to the laws of nature. At that time, the living entity has no power to change that law. Suppose an entity is put into the body of a dog. As soon as you put into the body of a dog, he must act like a dog. He cannot act otherwise. And if the living entity is put into the body of a hawk, then he's forced to intrude and act like a hawk. Similarly, the living entity is put into the body of a demigod, he must act according to his body. This is the law of nature. But in all circumstances, the super soul is within the individual. That is explained in the Vedas, as follows. Dua Suparna Sayuja Sakhaya. The Supreme Lord is so kind upon the living entity that he always accompanies the individual soul. And in all circumstances is present as the super soul or Paramatma.
Karya Karana Kartatve Hetu Prakriti. So Prakriti is the cause of Karya and Karana. That means Prakriti is the instrument for all causes and effects. But Purusha Sukha Dukkana Bhoktritve. But the happiness and distress, whose cause? The Purusha, the Jiva. So cause and effect. That means the Prakriti is responsible for body and its effects. That's what Prabhupada is explaining. So once one gets the, so who gives the different types of bodies? Prakriti. Prakriti gives. But once one gets a particular type of body, the effects within that body that are also given by Prakriti. So Prakriti gives body of a dog. So then in the body of a dog, he can't say, I want to sing. No, only one sound comes out. No choice. There's any other choice for the dog?
Some case of human being, sometimes human being act like animals. They have the choice.
So that is why they're more advanced. So human beings, so the human being has, so who's giving this body? Prakriti is only giving. And so in the body of human being, then there are certain other facilities. So every body has some effects. Every body has special effects. And so that is also being given by Prakriti. So the human body is special. It's most advanced, correct? Amongst all the bodies, human body is most advanced. Why? Yes, develop consciousness. But who's giving that? That also Prakriti is only giving. And therefore the human being has more choices. He can choose between different things. But along with that facility comes responsibility. More facility, more responsibility. Prabhupada's example. More facility, more responsibility. High Court judge. More facility, more responsibility. So yes, but then that body is awarded and then one gets the effects or the facilities of that body. So in the lower animals, very limited. They have to just follow program. They are programmed in certain ways. The dog has to bark, the hog has to eat stool, no choice. Huh? Yes, there's no karma. There's no new karma. They are simply spending their previous karma. That's all. So Prakriti is the hetu for causes and effects. Prakriti is the instrument for giving this body and the effects of this body. So even amongst humans, so many varieties of bodies. So here you can see everyone's body is different. No two bodies are same. Somebody is tall, somebody is short, somebody is fat, somebody is thin, somebody can sing sweetly, somebody cannot sing. So much variety, right? Unlimited variety. Just amongst the human species, unlimited variety. But every body has been given for one purpose, and that is
Self-realization.
now that is the ultimate goal. But why that particular type of body has been given to that particular jiva?
When that particular experience.
Yes, just to fulfill the desires of that particular jiva. That is why he has been given. So therefore, there's no point in complaining. Why do I have this type of body? Why I cannot sing sweetly? Why I cannot dance nicely? Why I cannot do this? Why I cannot do that? No. Who is responsible? I. I am responsible for this body that I have. So that's what Prabhupada is explaining here. According to one's desires and activities, material nature places one in various residential quarters. The being himself is the cause of his attaining such residential quarters and his attendant enjoyment or suffering. So for that residential quarters, what is the example Prabhupada gives? How much ever we pay, that type of apartment we can get. So similarly, whatever we desire, based upon that, we get different residential quarters. So then I cannot complain. There's no point in complaining. No, I have desired, therefore I got this type of body. I can't complain. So sometimes we find somebody has some chronic disease, ulcerative colitis, no treatment. Some diseases are there, no treatment. Whole life they have to suffer. What to do? Can't blame anybody else. I have to simply blame myself. It is because of my desire that I've got this type of. And then whatever is the outcome of that, sukha dukkana, purusha sukha dukkana bhoktritve. So I am the cause of this body, and whatever enjoyment or suffering that comes along with the body, who is responsible? I am only responsible. Nobody else is responsible. Yes, Prabhu.
How it is polar.
How there are 4 lakh human species? So many varieties of humans are there. What to speak of other planets? First of all, you can see in the whole material creation, how many types of humans are there? Gandharvas, Kinnaras, Siddhas, so Kim Purusha Loka, so many varieties of humans are there. And just on this earth planet, how many varieties of humans are there? Yes, it's all based on gunas only, due to influence of gunas. And why there's influence of gunas? Why there's influence of gunas? I desired, therefore there's influence of the gunas. And of course, I desire, Krishna knows my desire, Krishna orchestrates the fulfillment of desire through Prakriti. That is how it works. So therefore, there are so much variety. Here also you can see. Indians, Europeans, Americans, Africans. And even within that, there are so many varieties. You take just one country, India, you take. How much variety is there just within India? So much variety is there within India. ठीक है ना? See, Prabhupada tells that calculation just to give some idea of why there is variety. 3 into 3 equal to 9, 9 into 9 equal to 81. So Prabhupada is just giving that calculation just to show that why there is so much variety. But if you have permutations, combinations of 3, how many permutations, combinations you can have?
Different proportions here also.
How many?
Unlimited.
Unlimited. Just those 3 in different combinations, there can be unlimited varieties.
RGB,
Yeah,
red, green, blue, they create colors.
correct.
With 3 modes you can.
Yeah, that's what Prabhupada gives that same example, 3 colors. So it's unlimited. So therefore, no individuals are alike. Unlimited variety. Even twins are not exactly alike. Then who else will be alike? Nobody is alike. So that's the amount of variety that is there in creation. And the foolish Mayavadis say everything is one. In spite of there being so much variety. Bolo?
But you said that by desire we get bodies.
Correct.
So
I'll say, I'm not saying Prabhupada is writing it.
There is evolutionary process. In different bodies we get that we get human body. So when the animal body is there, then animal not desiring that should be a human body. So it's an evolution.
Automatic.
Automatic. Yes.
Yes, that is automatic evolution. One after the other. From lower species to higher species, that evolution is automatic. So once one finishes one's tenure in certain species, then automatically he gets the next species.
Ultimately, human body is compulsory for all zeros.
Yes. Yes. When?
That is like junction.
Yes, that is junction, correct. Then based upon what activities one does in the human form of life, either one can get elevated or one can degrade. And that is why so much importance is given to human.
So what is the way desiring in this body? We are going to get cover all the desire and then we go again to.
Yes. Then again human birth. When?
So now we got previously all desires is now fulfilled.
Yes. All other desires have been, for every, Prabhupada writes in some purport. You can see in the 4th canto, in Puranjan section, Prabhupada explains. There are unlimited desires within the mind, which are all in a stockpile. Stock. वो फाइल्स देखे ना फाइल्स अभी तो सब फाइल्स कंप्यूटर में होते हैं पहले जमाने में फाइल्स होते थे ना गवर्नमेंट ऑफिसेस में big pile will be there because nothing moves in the government office. So like that, big pile is there. How much big? See, at least this computer has some limitation, right? But the mind, subtle. So unlimited desires, everything is stocked. And Prabhupada writes in chronological order. It's all so perfect and precise. Unlimited desires, all in chronological order, and for every desire, one body. Huh? I cannot delete. Only Krishna can delete. So you go to Krishna and pray, please delete. Oh, Krishna has the delete button. He will delete everything. But you have to please him. इतना आसान नहीं है. उनको प्रसन्न करना पड़ेगा. प्रसन्न हो जाएंगे तो डिलीट हो जाएगा. अहम त्वाम सर्व पापेभ्यो. वही है. But for that, क्या करना पड़ेगा? सर्वधर्मा परित्यज्य माम एकम. फिर डिलीट हो जाए. हाँ वही. हाँ ठीक है ना. So what was your question? Okay, okay. So many different bodies for so many different desires.
Now, not desiring another thing.
Huh?
Not desiring any other kind of thing, other will get again the next one.
Yes, exactly. Prabhupada says that in his lectures. If you have even one desire, you'll have to come back again to fulfill that desire. Only spiritual desires. Only spiritual desires. One lecture Gurujan Prabhu was giving. So Gurujan Prabhu is saying, sometimes when I see these young people, so I wonder, how they're able to sit and stand so fast. Sit, stand, run around so fast. Because he's old now. So he was saying, but when I see these young people, I feel amazed. And then he said, but when that thought came to my mind, I checked myself. You understood the point?
Yes. So again, he wants to come here.
So that means if he has a desire to become young again, then what will happen? He'll have to take another body to become young. So you see, so subtle. But one who is advanced, then he's very cautious about every small thought that comes. Because for that, one will have to take another body. So therefore, only desire to serve and please Krishna. That's all. So that is the sadhana. That is our practice that we are supposed to do. So then when the mind goes on the wrong track, then we have to pull the mind. Hey, don't desire that. So that is why Srila Prabhupada quotes Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur. Every morning when you get up,
Beat your mind.
beat your mind with shoes. And at night, 100 times. So this is the beating. Mind goes in the wrong direction. Hey! So one has to check oneself. Otherwise, if we don't check the mind, we all have experience, right? If we don't check the mind, what happens? One leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. Then whole big scene and situation is created. Then one will have to come to enjoy that.
Including this, Krishna will also help because
Only by Krishna's help we can do something. So that is why our endeavor has to be to please the Acharya. Because if Acharya gives recommendation letter, then it is easy. On my own, it is very difficult.
One lady got a letter.
Yeah.
One old lady, she got a letter from Ravana said. Ravana wrote a letter to Balaji that.
I don't know. It is?
One old lady, she got a letter from Shipal Ravana said that it was letter to Lord Jagannath that please take her into your own house. So when she got that letter, she was running towards the temple of Raghunath. That she saw that Raghunath is coming towards it. It's because it is directly recommended by Acharya. That the Lord is eager to receive.
Acha. Correct. That is the principle. That is the principle. Yasya prasada bhagavad prasada. That's if we try to directly access, very difficult. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada also he says in his lectures, therefore we go through Srimati Radharani. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada says, so when you offer flower, you give to Radharani. And you tell her, you please offer this to Krishna. If you offer, Krishna will accept. And who's representative of Radharani? Madmanas tumam partha devin prakriti. So therefore, our process is we have to go through the Guru Parampara. We can't jump. We have to go through the Parampara. Then only it is possible. Otherwise, very difficult. And therefore, great emphasis is laid on that, following the Parampara. Therefore, Sampradaya Vihina Mandrasya Nishpalaha Mata. Therefore, Prabhupada makes it very clear. So some devotees say Hare Krishna Mahamantra, no need of Diksha, no need of Guru. No, Prabhupada writes it very clearly in his purports. The Hare Krishna Mahamantra also has to be received from the Guru. Then it will have full potency. Then one will get the full effects of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and that is Krishna Prem. Otherwise, some benefit one will get. But if one wants the full benefit, then one has to go through the path. Okay, time for break. Hare Krishna. That's why I tell anyone who is dissatisfied here should go on a little tour. Then he will know what he's getting here. And what to speak of the bathrooms? 5-star luxury. Huh? But okay. Prabhupada's lecture on the 21st verse. आपका हो गया ना?
Just like one criminal is punished by the magistrate, that this man should
थोड़ा कम करो ना.
undergo 6 months in
Volume.
prison. So the judge or the magistrate superficially is the cause of his punishment. But actually he is not. He is giving him punishment according to law. I have created such a situation. I have made myself a criminal, and the magistrate, according to the law, giving me the punishment. So actually, directly the magistrate is not the cause of my suffering. Why he should be cause? He is not your enemy. This is my God. So, Bhakti, my enjoyment. Because we have come to this material world for enjoyment. So everyone's enjoyment is not on the same standard. We can see that somebody is enjoying some way, another is enjoying one man's food, another man's poison. What is enjoyed by the hog is not enjoyed by other animals. This is going on. Therefore, when we get real consciousness by the good association, if we can understand that I am under the influences of Maya, Prakriti, and I am dictated according to my association with the qualities of the nature, and I am getting different types of body, different types of situation for my distress or happiness. This is my position fully under the control of the Prakriti.
Sir.
This is my position fully under the control of the Prakriti. It cannot be changed. Devi Esha Gurumai, Mamaya Gurutaya. Guru is not possible. Devi Esha Gurumai, Mamaya Gurutaya. You cannot change. But you can change by what process? What is that? Mamev ye prapadante, Maya Vedantaratite. Bhagavad Gita 7:40. If you surrender to Krishna, then you can get out of this control of Maya. Otherwise, it is not possible. Mama ego prapadante, Maya Vedantaratite. Then what should be our decision? That better not try for improving our material condition of life. That cannot be changed. It is not possible. According to the destiny, we have to enjoy or suffer. This is called adrishta. Therefore, the Shastra gives you advice. The same hetu pratek kovido न लभ्यते यत् ब्रह्मताम् उपरि अधाम् तत् लभ्यते दुःखवात् अन्यथा दुःखम् कालेन सर्वत्र गभीररसम्.
Master says, don't uselessly try to improve your position. The modern economists, they will say, no, we are not going to accept this. But it is a fact. People are trying to improve their condition of the poor man, but it is going on. But there are thousands or millions of poor men. 50 years ago, when I first came to Bombay, at that time, I was arrested. I saw there were persons lying down and care of footpath. And 50 years after, we are seeing the same thing is going on. No change. There is a class of men who must lie down, care of footpath. There are so many institutions, Daridra Narayana Seva. But why there are Daridra still? That means you cannot change. It is not possible. It is not possible. Just like a man who has done something criminal and is in prison. Can you take him out? It will be another criminal action. If you try to take him away from the prison house by some means, you will be punished and he will be punished. Both. This is the law. This is the law of state. Similarly, how you can surpass the strict law of nature and the laws of God? That is not possible. That is the Vedic civilization. They were not very much anxious to improve the material position. Even at present moment, you go to the village, the innocent villagers, they are satisfied with the position Krishna has given. But they are anxious to improve their spiritual life. That is, still you will find. Of course, it is not that you will not try to earn your so-called material improvement.
Huh? No.
Better save time and utilize that.
No. Of course, it
Of
is.
course, it is not that you not try to earn your livelihood. That you must, but you should not endeavor or give more time for your so-called material improvement. Better save time and utilize that time for improving your Krishna consciousness. That is perfection. That is the injection of.
Okay. So some very important points Prabhupada is telling over here. So one thing he says is, so just like criminal is punished by the magistrate, why blame magistrate? You can't blame magistrate. I have done crime, I will get punishment. Magistrate is just following the law. So similarly, Prakriti also same thing. Laws of nature, Prakriti laws are there. So based upon that one gets. So therefore, one cannot change the material situation. Because that is based on karma. One cannot change it. And therefore Prabhupada is giving that example of the people on the footpath. Can't change. And then Prabhupada says in his lectures, I thought that such people on the footpath are only in India. They are not there in America. But then when I came to America, I saw there are people on the footpath, in the garden, on the bench. They're also there. Why? And then Srila Prabhupada says, so these hippies, some of them are actually coming from very respectable families. So Prabhupada says, I saw when I was going for morning walk on Beverly Hills. So that's a very posh locality, Beverly Hills. And Prabhupada says, I saw one hippie, he was coming out in a car from one of the homes. So that means he belongs to that rich family. But still, he has become hippie and is lying on the footpath. Why? Karma. Can't change. And as Prabhupada is saying, there are so many people trying to help them, help the poor people. Daridana Seva and this and that. So many institutions are there. And even if such people give them some new house or something, what they will do?
Put it on rent and still stay on.
Why? They are forced to. Material nature forces them to do like that. They're just puppets in the hands of material nature. So even though somebody is trying to change the material situation, they cannot change.
In Calcutta, there was Gopal place in there. So people were not giving that nearby land. So rather on to it literally pay them high amount of Lakshmi to move them or give them a new home. And they were like slum people. So they were given like big houses, 2 BHK flats.
Achha.
Eventually they moved there for some time, but they couldn't stay long. And then they again went and created slum somewhere else. They gave it for rent.
Exactly. That's what they do. Why? Same thing, karma. Can't change. And that's what this verse is saying. Purusha sukha dukkhanam bhoktritve hetu. So Prakriti is going to give a particular type of body. In that body, what happiness and distress is destined, the person has to get it. One can't escape. So therefore, Prabhupada is quoting, Deveshu Gunamai Mamaya Duratyaya Mameva ye prapadyante Maya metam taran. The only way to change it is by surrendering to Krishna. Then Krishna can change that situation. Otherwise, it is just not possible. So therefore, Prabhupada is saying no point in wasting time for changing material situation. Better focus on what? Yes, in Krishna consciousness, and then end material existence forever. So that is intelligence. Okay. So now, so why the living entities are getting different types of bodies? 22. Purusha prakriti stohi bhunte prakriti janguna karanam guna sangosya sadasad yoni janmasu. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the 3 modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus he meets with good and evil among various species. So, this is a very important verse. So it is said that this verse, this at least our Purnachandra Maharaj told, that this verse is like the Mahavakya of the last 6 chapters. Because the entire subject matter of the last 6 chapters is based on this verse. Because the last 6 chapters, what is the main subject matter? Is right in the beginning. What is the main subject matter of the last 6 chapters? 3 modes, and how to become free from the influence of 3 modes. That is Gyan. Gyan means how to become liberated from the influence of 3 modes. So that is why this is Mahavakya. The entire section is based on this verse, and that is how the jivas are entangled by the 3 modes. That's what this verse is telling, right? So this verse is explaining why the jivas are entangled by the 3 modes and why they get different bodies. And then the solution, how to come out of it. So that is why this is considered to be a very important verse. So the main reason is Purusha. So the jiva is called Purusha here. Why? Is he Purusha? Yes. He's trying to be Purusha. He's trying to be Purusha. That is the root cause of all the problem. He's trying to be Purusha. And because he's trying to be Purusha, then the result is Prakriti. So then he becomes entangled by Prakriti. He's trying to enjoy Bhunte Prakriti Jan Gunam. And then Karanam Guna Sangasya, by the association of the modes, then Sad Asad Yoni Janmasu. Okay, please read this purport.
This verse is very important for understanding how the living entities transmigrate from one body to another. It is explained in the 2nd chapter that the living entities transmigrating from one body to another, just as the moon changes dress. This change of dress is due to his attachment to material existence. As long as he is captivated by this false manifestation, he has to continue transmigrating from one body to another. Due to his desire to not impose material, he is put into such undesirable circumstances. Under the influence of material desire, the entity is born sometimes as a demigod, sometimes as a man, sometimes as a beast, as a bird, as a worm, as an aquatic, as a sentiment, as a bird. This is going on. And in all cases, the living entity thinks himself to be the master of his circumstances. Yet he is under the influence of material nature. How he is put into such different bodies is explained here. It is due to association with different modes of nature. One has to rise, therefore, above the three material modes and become situated in the transcendental position. That is called Krishna consciousness. Unless one is situated in Krishna consciousness, with material consciousness will oblige him to transfer from one body to another. Because he has material desires since time immemorial. But he has to change that conception. And change can be effected only by gaining from reduced sources. The best example is here. Arjuna is hearing the science of God from Krishna. The living entity, if he submits to this hearing process, will lose his long cherished desire to dominate material nature. And gradually and proportionately, as he reduces his long desire to dominate, he comes to enjoy spiritual happiness in a Vedic mantra. It is said that as he becomes learned in association with Supreme Personality of Godhead, he proportionately relishes his eternal bliss.
So here Srila Prabhupada is very beautifully presenting the problem as well as the solution. So the problem is what? The problem is because of the material desires, his material consciousness will oblige him to transfer from one body to another because he has material desires since time immemorial. So because he has material desires, those desires will force him to accept different material bodies. He has to get it. So when material nature gives a material body, at that time person can say, no, I don't want this body. Nahin, lena hi padega. Force. He has to take. If he has to get the body of dog, he has to go into the body of dog. No choice. One body after another. So what is the solution? Now these are some, this is the excellence of eloquence. Prabhupada has put the entire solution of Krishna consciousness in such a precise and perfect way in one sentence. It's practically the whole philosophy of Krishna consciousness in one sentence. The living entity, if he submits to this hearing process, every word is filled with so much of meaning. You see, Prabhupada is not just saying if he hears. What is saying? Submits to the hearing process. What does that mean? Submits to the hearing process means. So submits means that he hears and follows. Not just hearing. That some benefit will be there, but not much. Submit to the hearing process means, and as Prabhupada so many times he says, submissive oral reception. So the attitude of being submissive is very important, and that means that one is taking that subject matter very seriously and agreeing to follow it. So without following, the hearing has no meaning. Then it is just a ritual. People go and attend Bhagavad Saptah. Ritualistically, they'll attend every day, 7 days, they'll attend. After 7 days, back to pavilion. Same old thing. No change. No change. So that type of hearing, practically useless. But here, what Prabhupada is saying, if he submits to the hearing process, then what will be the result? He will lose his long cherished desire to dominate material nature. The result will be he will develop humility, he will become submissive, and he will lose his rebellious nature and desire to dominate material nature, to be the boss. That nature he will lose. And then the result of that will be what? Gradually and proportionately. So, as he reduces his long desire to dominate, he comes to enjoy spiritual happiness. So, there's an inverse proportion between what? Desire to dominate and spiritual happiness. So, as the desire to dominate reduces, spiritual happiness increases. If desire to dominate increases, spiritual happiness reduces, inverse proportion. But then for this change to take place, for the desire to dominate to reduce and spiritual happiness to increase, it is going to take some time. Therefore, what Prabhupada is saying? Gradually and proportionately. So I'm sure we all have that experience. So the more we try to dominate, the more we want this, ye chahiye, wo chahiye. So the more we have that desire to dominate, and very often desires don't get fulfilled, then what happens? Frustration, dejection, then no happiness. But if one does not have the desire to dominate, then one depends on Krishna. ठीक है, जो मिलता है, ठीक. Then one depends on Krishna. One doesn't have the desire to dominate material situations, manipulate situations, get what I want. So if one doesn't have that desire, then one depends on Krishna. And then whatever Krishna gives, one is satisfied and happy. Robert told that incident of the Zamindar in Krishnanagar, you know that? Zamindar, and rich Zamindar in Krishnanagar, he was almost like king. So he went to one Brahmana's house. He was living in a very simple house. So he was a learned scholar, I suppose. So when we went to meet him, and so the Zamindar told him, "Why are you living in such a poor condition? I'll give you money, I can build a nice house for you." What did the Brahmana say? Santushta. I'm satisfied. Simple house. And then my students, they go and collect some rice. And so my wife cooks the rice, and here there's one tamarind tree, imli ka ped. So then I take the leaves, cook along with the rice, and that is fine. कितने ब्रह्मचारी रहेंगे? But the point is, so the Brahmana was so satisfied. So if somebody is satisfied like that, obviously be happy. So happiness is not based on externals. Happiness is based on the internal consciousness, based on the internal consciousness. Somebody may be millionaire and yet be unhappy. Why?
Because he has
More desires. Orgy. Not. And we have example of Kola Vichashriva. What he had? Nothing, practically nothing. And yet, blissful. It's based on the consciousness. And so therefore, this is the solution. So if you want to stop this transmigration from one body to the other, then what we have to do? Yes, give up the dominating mentality. And how one will be able to give up the dominating mentality? Submissive hearing. When one submits to the hearing process. So therefore, the hearing should not be taken simply as a ritual. ठीक है, आगे बैठ गए क्लास में कुछ तो. So then one will not gain much. But when submits to the hearing process means one will try to gain something, try to apply something within one's life, then the change will take place. And what is the essential change that should take place? The dominating mentality should reduce, humility should increase, satisfaction should increase, and then as a result of that, spiritual happiness will increase. Because one pleases Krishna by it. Okay? And therefore, Prabhupada is saying in a Vedic mantra, it is said that as he becomes learned in association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so in association with the scriptures, one should become learned, and then he proportionately relishes his eternal blissful life. Check.
So I want to ask about Santushta, where it is there, how to be Enakina, it is not there any method we have to use. Somehow you have
Somehow means whatever is available by providence, one is satisfied with that. Yes. So one has to think, okay, this is my quota. Bas. Be satisfied.
Quota is very but is very government happy.
क्यों?
What is my quota?
तो जितना मिलता है उतना कोटा है. So yes, see, if you think your quota is more, then you can try to get it. If you get it, well and good, by proper means, not illegal means. By proper means, you try to get more. If you get it, well and good. If you don't get it, संतुष्ट. भगवान इतना ही चाहिए, यही कोटा है. So they're not satisfied.
If you wanted, would have increased. Quota is not like that.
Yeah, so he's satisfied. He's satisfied with that much. He doesn't want more. Mahaprabhu offered him anything, correct? Mahaprabhu could have given anything. But he was satisfied. Nahi chahiye. So, of course, everyone is not the same. So we can't expect everyone to be like Kodavachasya. There was somebody like Pundit Vidyanidhi also. So all varieties there. But the fact is that is Sridhar Kolavich's quota and he's satisfied with that. And that is Pundit Vidyanidhi's quota and he's satisfied with that. Both are happy. So therefore, there is no point in comparing oneself with others. Usually problem कहाँ होता है? Comparison. अरे उसको इतना है, मुझे इतना है. That is the problem. So that is where the problem begins. But then if one understands, okay, this is what I am supposed to get, so let me be satisfied. तो अगर आप बोलेंगे देखो यहाँ पर क्या है, यहाँ पर सिर्फ वो रोटी चपाती सब्जी है, यहाँ पास्ता पिज्जा नहीं मिलता है. अरे वो मंदिर में मिलता है, वो मंदिर में. फिर प्रॉब्लम है ना. The moment you start comparing, then the problem comes. But if one is saying, ठीक है, this is my quota, I am staying here, this is my quota, be happy. फिर क्या है, फिर when one is not satisfied, फिर वो क्या सोचेगा, अरे वहां जाऊं, वहां पास्ता पिज्जा मिले. Then he goes there, then what happens? He'll get pasta pizza, but something else will be less. That is the way material nature works. And we can see, practically we can see it. This is how everywhere you will find. Something is less, something is more. Nowhere one will get everything what one wants. Then you have to go back to spiritual world. Then you'll get. But over here in material world, no situation is perfect. Therefore, Prabhupada said, don't expect utopia. Utopia means ideal situation. एकदम परफेक्ट, जो चाहे वही सब कुछ मिले, कभी नहीं हो. So therefore, if one is not satisfied, then one will keep on grumbling. अरे यहाँ पर ये नहीं है, वो नहीं है, ये नहीं मिल रहा, टोमेटो नहीं मिल रहा, ये नहीं मिल रहा. नुकसान किसको है? खुद को ही नुकसान है. Then instead of thinking of Krishna, he's thinking about all this. But if we adjust to the situation, remain satisfied, then you can think of Krishna and become spiritually happy. So ठीक है, if I need something, I can ask. If I have a genuine need, I can ask. If I get it, well and good. If I don't get it, well and good. Then you accept it. This is Krishna's plan. That's how one remains satisfied. Otherwise, even within devotional service, there is no end to material desires. Then even in this life, one will be struggling to fulfill material desires. And then the next life, what will happen? One will have to accept another body to fulfill material desires. Chicken.
Like this is said in all the material, whatever this is said, everything is a material thing. In spiritual life, I suppose that in the starting of our spiritual life, we will try on that something happened. Otherwise, we continue, there is no force. So that is going, we are wants whatever it is also satisfied, but we want something to do, like that.
So ठीक है ना? So fine, so we have some spiritual desires, okay, to render some service, to do something for proper mission. We have some desire, fine, no problem. You go and express to your authorities and you see what they say. So that is what, see, either materially or spiritually, if we have a desire, if we want something, so there's no harm in expressing. There's no harm in expressing. If you get it, well and good. If you don't get it, still well.
Do and be kind.
Yeah, so we can try, there's no problem with it. But not that अगर नहीं मिलेगा तो देख लूंगा. So then one gets into that passionate mood. करके दिखाऊंगा. फिर बहुत बड़ी समस्या है. Then one is challenging Krishna and Krishna's plan. So Krishna has a plan for every jiva. We read that before, right? In the 11th chapter we read. How do we know Krishna's plan? How do you know Krishna's plan?
Through his devotees.
Yes, through his devotees. That's how we know Krishna's plan. So that's what I'm saying. So if you have a desire, no problem. You approach the devotees, senior devotees, and you find out. If they sanction it, well and good. If they don't sanction it, then you understand that that is Krishna's plan. If it is not sanctioned, you understand it's Krishna's plan. Okay, that reminds me of a very beautiful purport. Now, this example is classic. Prithu Maharaj and Indra. Now you may say, or we may say, I have this desire, this desire. Ye sab kya chota mota. Now what was Prithu Maharaj doing? Ashwamedha Yajna. That was no small thing. He has performed 99 Ashwamedha Yajnas and is about to perform the 100th one. So much of expenditure, so much of endeavor, everything has been done. And finally Brahma comes and says, Band karo. Now you tell me, Prithu Maharaj, did he have a good reason to argue with Brahma?
Yes.
Legitimate reason, correct? Who was creating trouble? He could have said, Are, I am doing my job. This person is interfering. Are, उनको बोलो ना, मुझे क्यों बोल रहे हो? Right? He could have argued, no? And that was legitimate argument. But you find after Brahma gives instruction and he gives various reasons for that instruction. He gives various reasons, logical, legitimate reasons why he should stop the sacrifice. And after he gives that, all those reasons, Prithu Maharaj doesn't say one word. You can see in the Bhagavatam, not one word. He smilingly accepts that. It's mentioned. Very happily accepts. And in those instructions of Brahma, there is one verse which is very important. Now, I don't remember exact number, but somebody can open. So this is 19th chapter, 4th canto, 19th chapter. And verse number will be somewhere around 30. 30. So I'll tell you the translation. So Brahma is saying that if you are not satisfied with the circumstances that you are put in, and you try to change the circumstances, then you will go to the darkest region of ignorance. And then Prabhupada gives a nice beautiful purport to that. Got it? Got it.
My dear king,
What is the verse number?
study
Huh?
34.
34.
My dear king, do not be agitated and anxious because your sacrifice have not been properly executed due to providential impediments. Kindly take my words with great respect. You should always remember that if something happens by providential arrangement, we should not be very sorry. The more we try to rectify such reversals, the more we enter into the darkest region of materialistic thought.
Perfect.
Sometimes a saintly or a very religious person also has to meet with reversals in life. Such incidents should be taken as a providential. Although there may be sufficient cause for being unhappy, one should not avoid contracting such reversals. For the more we become implicated in rectifying such reversals, the more we enter into the darkest vision of material insanity. Lord Krishna has also advised us in this connection. We should tolerate things instead of being agitated.
Okay? So you got answer? Yes. Okay. So till now Krishna has spoken about one Purusha, and that is the Jivatma. And now Krishna speaks about the other Purusha, that is the actual Purusha, and that is the Super Soul. 23. Upadrashta Anumanta cha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara Paramatmeti Chapyukto Dehesmin Purusha Paraha. Yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the Super Soul. Okay, please read the first paragraph of purport.
stated here that the super soul who is always with the individual soul is the representation of the supreme power. He is not an ordinary being, but the monist philosophers take the role of the body to one. They think that there is no difference between the super soul and the individual soul. To clarify this, the Lord says that He is represented as the Paramatma in everybody. He is different from the individual soul. He is para transcendental. The individual soul enjoys the activities of the particular field, but the super soul is present not as a parent angel nor as one taking part in bodily activities, but as the witness of verses permitted and for
And enjoy. Okay, so his name is Paramatma, not Atma, and he is transcendental. So these are the main qualities of the Paramatma: Upadrashta, Anumanta, Bharata, Bhokta, Maheshwara. So 5 qualities of the Paramatma have been described. So I think so. I mean, there's no need of further discussion because we have discussed most of these points. How the Lord is overseeing everything, he's witnessing everything, and he has to give permission. Unless he gives permission, we cannot do anything. So, and then the next paragraph, Prabhupada writes that the living entity has the tendency to reject the sanction of the Supreme Lord and act independently in an attempt to dominate nature. And because he has this tendency, he is called the marginal energy of the Supreme Lord. So the living entity can be situated either in marginal energy in material energy or spiritual energy, because he is marginal. And the Lord is always eager to take him back to the spiritual energy. But due to his minute independence, the individual entity is continually rejecting the association of spirituality. So whose problem it is? Yes, Jiva's problem, who's always rejecting the guidance given by the Super Soul. This misuse of independence is the cause of his material strife in the conditioned nature. The Lord, therefore, is always giving instruction from within and without. From without, he gives instructions stated in Bhagavad Gita, and from within, he tries to convince the living entity that his activities in the material field are not conducive to real happiness. Just give it up and turn your faith towards me, then you will be happy, he says. Thus, the intelligent person who places faith in the Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, begins to advance towards a blissful, eternal life of knowledge. So somebody who understands all this knowledge, what will be the result? Ya evam vekti purusham prakritim cha gunai saha sarvada vartamanopi na bhuyo vijayate. One who understands this philosophy concerning material nature, the living entity, and the interaction of the modes of nature is sure to attain liberation. He will not take birth here again, regardless of his present position. Sarvata vartamano api. So irrespective of his present position, whatever he may be, so he may be rich or poor or this country or that country or anything, whatever may be his present situation, if he accepts this knowledge and follows this in his life, the result will be na saha bhuya abhijayate. He will not have to take birth again in this material world. Now this is a short but very nice purport. Read.
Clear understanding of material nature, super soul, individual soul, their interrelation makes one visible to become liberated and turn to the spiritual nature. Sorry, I did not say
Spiritual
without
atmosphere.
spiritual atmosphere without being forced to return to the spiritual nature. This is the result of the purpose of knowledge is to understand distinctly that the living entity has by chance fallen into spiritual existence. By his personal endeavor in association with authorities, saintly persons, and a spiritual master, he has to understand the present and then revert to spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness by understanding Bhagavad Gita as it is explained by the God. then it is certain that it will never come again into spiritual existence. We will be transferred into the spiritual world for the peaceful eternal life.
Yes. So the important point is this what Prabhupada is writing. So Prabhupada is writing here that by his personal endeavor in association with authorities, saintly persons, and a spiritual master, he has to understand his position and then revert to spiritual consciousness. So two things are required. One is personal endeavor is required, but that personal endeavor has to be based on Guru Sadhu Shastra. So based upon the instructions of Guru Sadhu Shastra, one has to make personal endeavor. So that personal endeavor is required, but that should not be whimsical. That has to be based on Guru Sadhu Shastra. Then he can come out of this entanglement of material nature. Okay. Can read this.
Even for going to the private, I wanted permission of the Lord. Hanumanta means without his permission, you cannot do anything. You cannot do anything because everything belongs to Krishna. How you can do something without permission? So Hanumanta and Upadrishta. Just like father and son, little child. He wants to do something and wants permission from the father or the mother. And he gives. In our childhood, I remember that even for going to Friday, I wanted permission of my mother. Can I go? Mother is not restricting me. Still, I'm asking the permission of mother. Can I go? Can I go? I remember it. This is natural. Similarly, we cannot do anything without the permission of the super soul within the heart. Sarvasachaham Vishnu. So when we do something wrong, how Krishna's Paramatma gives permission? This question will be raised. But he gives permission when I do something wrong. Because I cannot do anything without his permission. But he gives me permission as a Karana Guru Sangha said. That is already explained. He can give you permission, but the enjoyment and suffering will have to be taken by you. You insist permission, I want to do this. And without permission, you cannot do it. Therefore, Krishna gives you permission. All right, you do it, but at your risk. Krishna does not want that you should do it, but you want to do it. Therefore, he gives permission.
Clear? So that, yes. So Krishna gives permission. Why? Because I am desiring. I am not only desiring, but I am insisting. So because I insist, I want this, I want this. Do it. But at your own risk. Then suffering and enjoyment. Yeah. Okay. 25. So now he's describing what are the ways by which one can understand the super soul. 25. Dhyanenatmani pashyanti kechid atmanam atmanam anye sankhena yogena karma yogena chapare. Some perceive the super soul within themselves through meditation, others through the cultivation of knowledge, and still others through working without fruit of desire. So dhyanena refers to devotees by meditation. Dhyanena atmani pashyanti. And then the other process is anye sankhyena yogena. So that is jnana yoga, sankhya yoga or jnana yoga. And then third is karma yogena. Yes, so these are three processes describing in order to understand the super soul. See, okay, read the purport. The Lord informs Arjuna that the conditioned souls can be divided into two classes as far as man's search for self-realization is concerned. Those who are atheists, agnostics, and skeptics are beyond the sense of spiritual understanding. But there are others who are faithful in their understanding of spiritual life, and they are called introspective devotees, philosophers, and workers who have renounced fruitive results. Correct. So the dhyanena, that refers to introspective devotees who are meditating on the Lord. So devotees also meditate on the personal form of Lord. And philosophers, that is the jnanis and the nishkam karma yogis. And then Prabhupada is discussing each one of them. And right. Okay. 26. Now, besides these three, then there's another category. What is that? अन्ये त्व एवम् अजानन्तः श्रुत्वा नेभ्य उपासते तेऽपि चातितरयन्तेव मृत्युं श्रुतिपरायणः. Again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about him from others. Because of the tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path. So if somebody doesn't fall into these three categories of devotees, jnanis, or yogis, or karma yogis, if one cannot perform any one of these, then Krishna is saying, no problem. You become what? Shruti Parayana. You simply hear. You simply hear, and then by hearing, one can get purified and then transcend birth and death. Yes. And that is what has been recommended, especially in this age. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended, quoting Brahma's prayers, Sthane Sita Shruti-gatam Tanuvan Manovi Ye Prayaso Ajita Chita Api Taste Trilokyam. So that is the process that is recommended for this age, which Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very much recommended. And Prabhupada is quoting that in his purport. So some of the people may appear to be atheistic or agnostic or philosophical, but actually there is no knowledge of philosophy. As for the common man, if he is a good soul, then there is a chance for advancement by hearing. This hearing process is very important. As the Lord Chaitanya of Krishna consciousness, give great stress to hearing, because if the common man simply hears from authoritative sources, he can progress. Okay, so these are the different ways in which one can understand about the soul and the super soul. Further on, Prabhupada says one should learn to become the servant of those who are in knowledge of the Supreme Lord. Before that, Lord Chaitanya has said that in this age, no one needs to change his position. That is the same thing, sthana sthita. But one should give up the endeavor to understand the absolute truth by speculative reasoning. Jnane prayasam udapasya namanta eva. That is what. One should learn to become the servant of those who are in knowledge of the Supreme Lord. If one is fortunate enough to take shelter of a pure devotee, hear from him about self-realization and follow in his footsteps, one will be gradually elevated to the position of a pure devotee. In this verse, particularly, the process of hearing is strongly recommended, and this is very appropriate. Although the common man is often not as capable as so-called philosophers, faithful hearing from an authoritative person will help one transcend this material existence and go back to Godhead, back to home. So these are different ways in which one can realize the soul and the super soul. And now the last section of the chapter, from 27 to 35, Jnana Chakshusha, the vision of knowledge.
Hearing process, the last word, like among them, we find the hearing process in certain lessons.
Yes, so introspective devotees means that so one is not only just hearing, but then he also has the ability to introspect, analyze, and meditate, and do all those things, right? But everyone may not be capable of that, especially in the modern age. And so therefore Krishna is saying, no problem. Even one cannot do all that, no problem. Simply hear. Hear from authoritative sources. And of course, we already understand. Hearing means? Yes, submissive hearing. That means one hears and tries to apply. Then the change will take place. So the last section is Jnana Chakshusha. If one has this knowledge of soul, super soul, and all this knowledge that has been described so far, what will be the result? We have already discussed most of these points. So we'll rapidly go through this section. 27. Yavat sanjayate kinchit sattvam sthavar jangamam kshetra kshetrajna sanyoga tadviddhi bhatarshava. O chief of Bhartas, know that if whatever you see in existence, both the moving and the non-moving, is only a combination of field of activities and knower of the field. Okay, this is a simple point. So whatever we see around is combination of Kshetra and Kshetrajna. Kshetra, Kshetrajna, Sanyoga. That means combination of body and spirit, super soul, everything, everyone is a combination of these, whatever we see. Now, 28. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram vinashyatsu avinashyantam ya pashyati sapashyati. One who sees the super soul accompanying the individual soul in all bodies, and who understands that neither the soul nor the super soul, when the destructible body is ever destroyed, actually sees. Okay, again, simple point. So, one who understands that within the body there is soul, super soul, only the body is destroyed, soul and super soul are not destroyed. Vinashyatsu avinashyanta. Ya pashyati, sa pashyati. So, one who understands all this actually sees. But how one can actually understand all this? Prabhupada writes in the first line of his purport. Anyone who by good association. So the solution to get this knowledge is what? Good association. Then he can see the three things combined together. Body, the proprietor of the body, friend of the individual soul is actually in knowledge. Unless one has the association of a real knower of spiritual subjects, one cannot see these three things. Those who do not have such association are ignorant. They simply see the body. And I think everything is finished. Okay. 29. Samam pashyan hi sarvatra samavastitam ishwaram na hinasti atmanatmanam tato yati paragatim. One who sees the super soul equally present everywhere in every living being does not degrade himself by his mind. Thus he approaches the transcendental destination. We already discussed this point also. So if one can realize the super soul, then what will happen? Yes, he will properly act. Why? Yes, because he knows that the super soul is watching. Yes, he's watching. So therefore, he will not degrade himself by the mind, because he will understand that I will get reaction. Super soul is watching, everything is recorded, and I will have to face the consequences. And that's what Prabhupada writes. But if one understands that the Supreme is situated in his Paramatma manifestation everywhere, that is, if one can see the presence of the Supreme Personality of God in every living being, he does not degrade himself by a destructive mentality. And he therefore gradually advances to the spiritual world. The mind is generally addicted to sense gratifying processes. But when the mind turns to the super soul, one becomes advanced in spiritual understanding. 13. Prakrityeva cha karmani kriyamanani sarvashah ya pashyati tatatmanam akartaram sapashyati. One who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees. This is similar to which verse? Everything is done by Prakriti. Yes, Prakriti kriyamanani gune karmani sarvasva. Same thing. Prakriti vacha karmani kriyamanani sarvasha. Ya pashyati tadanmanam kartara pashyati. So one who understands that everything is being done by Prakriti, the material nature, and the self does nothing. What does the self do? Yes, only desire. There's nothing else he can do. So one who sees that is actually seeing. Sarvashyati. Prabhupada is writing, to fulfill desires, one is given the body with which he acts accordingly. Practically speaking, the body is a machine designed by the Supreme Lord to fulfill desires. Because of desires, one is put into difficult circumstances to suffer or to injure. This is what one has to understand. It is all based on my own desires. And then everything is being done by Prakriti. This transcendental vision of the living entity, when developed, makes one separate from bodily activities. One who has such a vision is an actual seer. 31. Yada bhuta pritak bhavam ekastam anupashyati tata eva cha vistaram brahma sampadhyate tada. When a sensible man ceases to see different identities to different material bodies, and he sees how beings are expanded everywhere, he attains to the Brahman conception. Huh? Yes, this is similar to Vidya Vinay Sampanne, Brahmane Gavisne, Shunishwar, Pandita Samadarshi. Same point. So one who sees that Yada Bhuta Pritak Bhavam. So he sees that there is spirit soul, and the spirit soul is different from the different bodies. The bodies are Pritak, but the soul is one, Ekastam, Anupashyati. So then Brahma Sampadyati. So then he's on the Brahman platform because he can perfectly understand that there is Brahman. 32. Anadidva nirgunatvat paramatmayam avyayah sharirastoti kaunteya na karoti na libyate. Those with the vision of eternity can see that the imperishable soul is transcendent, eternal, and beyond the modes of nature. Despite contact with the material body of Arjuna, the soul neither does anything nor is entangled. Okay, so the soul always remains pure, always remains on the transcendent platform. But when he comes in contact with the material body, then he gets contaminated, and that is the cause of his material situation. 33. Yatha sarvagatam saukshmyat akasham nopalipyate sarvatra vasito dehe tatatma nopalipyate. So now he's giving an example to explain how the soul is different from the body, and whatever happens to the body does not affect the soul. The sky, due to its subtle nature, does not mix with anything, although it is all pervading. Similarly, the soul situated in Brahman vision does not mix with the body, although situated in that body. So just like, so Prabhupada explains, the air enters into water, mud, stool, and whatever else is there. Still, it does not mix with anything. It remains separate. Similarly, the living entity, even though situated in varieties of bodies, is aloof from them due to its subtle nature. Therefore, it is impossible to see with the material eyes how the living entity is in contact with his body and how he is out of it after the destruction of the body. No one in science can ascertain this, material science. So one has to have spiritual science and spiritual eyes, spiritual vision. Then one can understand how all this is taking place. 34. Yatha prakashayati eka kritsnam lokam imam ravi kshetram kshetri tata kritsnam prakashayati bharata. O son of Bharata, as the sun alone illuminates all this universe, so does the living entity one within the body illuminate the entire body by consciousness. So this we've already studied in the second chapter. Just like the sun is situated in one place and the sun rays are spreading everywhere, soul is situated in one place and spread throughout the body by consciousness. So Prabhupada writes, when the soul is present in the body, there's consciousness all over the body. And as soon as the soul has passed from the body, there is no more consciousness. This can easily be understood by an intelligent man. Therefore, consciousness is not a product combination of matter. It is the symptom of the living entity. And the consciousness of the living entity, although qualitatively one with the supreme consciousness, is not supreme, because consciousness of one particular body does not share that of another body. But the super soul, which is situated in all bodies, as the friend of the individual soul, is conscious of all bodies. That is the difference between supreme consciousness and individual consciousness. And 35. Kshetra kshetrajnayorevam antaram jnana chakshusha bhuta prakriti moksham cha ye viduryanti te param. Those who see with the eyes of knowledge the difference between the body and the knower of the body can also understand the process of liberation from bondage and material nature and attain to the supreme goal. So if one can understand all this, kshetrajna, so one understands all this with jnana chakshusha, then the result will be bhuta prakriti moksha. Then one will become liberated from this material nature and ye vidur yanti te param. Then one can attain the supreme destination. And Prabhupada beautifully summarizes the entire chapter and this purport. You can read on your own. Thus, and the Bhakti purports to the 13th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of nature, the enjoyer, and consciousness. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki, Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki, Jai Samved Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Hare.